What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and welcome, well, I say welcome, but welcome to the month of July already. I can't believe it. And it looks like we have quite an exciting week with non-farm payroll and all the high impact news that we're expecting as we start the new month. So yeah, it's been a very interesting month. I am going to get out the seasonal tendencies as we're starting a new month, and to be honest, I haven't looked at these in a while. I've been very distracted for the past couple months, I'd say, in terms of being in the charts, and if you've been watching me for a while, you would have recognized that. But I'm trying to get back into things a lot more better now, and you can see that this is the seasonal tendency for June, and that's what we're finishing now. And you can see the seasonal tendency for June tends to open higher and close lower, open higher, close lower, open higher and close lower, and that's exactly what's happened this month of June as well. So you can see that June opened around here, and it looks like we're going to be closing below here. So, and even the delivery of it, so you can see there's a lot of back and forth action. Let's take a closer look. This is going to be quite a long video by the looks of things, guys, so do get your snacks ready. But let me just get the month of June delineated. So June started here, and it's going to be closing here, and if we drop down to the daily, we'll be able to get a closer look. And similarly to what we see in the seasonal tendencies, you can see there's a lot of consolidation in the middle, which is what we see here, 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 and you can see that's exactly what happened. So we dropped lower to start June, we dropped lower, and then there was like a return up, and that's what we can see happening here, here, and here to an extent. And then you can see that we ended up closing lower with a little bit of consolidation between, but nonetheless it's been heavily bearish. So the seasonal tendency was supportive basically at the end of the day, and that means I now want to move into my next month with that in mind. And you can see the next month of July tends to open, rally, and then close, open, rally, and then close, open, rally, and then, well, on the 5-year tendency it hasn't done so, but my point is generally it tends to close lower. So I'm anticipating that moving into July. Now that doesn't mean that it has to close lower. This doesn't mean that you can go short on dollar now with the expectation that next month is going to close lower. It's just that this tends to be a seasonal tendency and expectation that can help us you know, lean into some kind of bias as we move into the new month. But yeah, very interesting to say the least. And then, like I said, we have high impact news this week, which should help get the new month off to a kicking start. So I am definitely looking forward to non-farm payroll. I think it's going to get a lot, we should get a lot of movement, and I can imagine that we are going to see some kind of reversal, because the amount we've been dropping recently, I would want to see some kind of rallying. So I wouldn't be surprised if Monday, Tuesday saw us dropping off, and then when we get to non-farm payroll, maybe we'll pull back in on ourselves. But I'll look more into that later in the week. But nonetheless, let's dive straight into things, and let me just get rid of this. Oh, excuse me. Like so. And I do still want to mark out some points from the previous month as we're going to start the new month. So I want to mark out the opening, which was the first trading day of June, and we're going to drag that through. Let's make this let's make it this color, and then I want to mark the closing, which is where we're pretty much closing right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this range into quarters, just because I believe that price may want to refer into this range at some point in the new month. So we can use this to our advantage when we go back up to the weekly. And these should be significant price points for us. So we have the 25% level of the month here. And then we have the 50% level of the month here. Like so. And so basically I'm expecting that if we are going to see any rallying in the new month, which we're anticipating, remember, after seeing the seasonal tendency, we're expecting some level of, well, you know, based on seasonal tendency, we expect some kind of rallying. Then I would want to see price rally either into the 25% level or to the 50% level, depending on how this week starts trading. But let's go back up to the weekly real quick, and you can see that we've opened already and created a little gap, which is interesting, and we have a bearish order block right here at the 50% level. Now I do believe we are moving down into a weekly fair value gap, a very small one, which we have right here. So let's get that delineated. I do believe that this is where we're moving our way towards, and I'd like to think that once price gets into here, if we get a reaction outside of it, then I'd like to be looking for longs on dollar. But I don't tend to trade non-farm payroll anyway, so I don't want to speak too much. We can see our price has opened, gapped, and is already moving at quite high speeds. So it'll be interesting to see how price what's standing towards that. And then on the monthly, you can see that there's an actual volume imbalance between this close and this open. There's an entire volume imbalance which we're trading inside right now. So that shows what the price is likely attempting to try and fill. And then there's this bullish order block here that price may want to try and reach for. So we do have a few targets in the discount that price may want to be working its way towards, and we should take that into account. But nonetheless, let's go to the daily. And then move again, as I was saying, with us starting off with such large expansion to the downside, we might find that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday continues to trade lower. And if that's the case, then on Friday, on the back of non-farm payroll, I'd like to see price return back inside the range and start creating some kind of rallying. So tomorrow and Wednesday is going to be very telling, depending on what happens when we reach this fair value gap, because we may trade into this, say, tomorrow, maybe on Tuesday, and then start getting a reaction off the back of it, and that's completely fine. But it all depends how we treat this. But overall, I'm moving into Tuesday at least. I'm expecting price to trade down into here, and then, like I said, this bullish order block on the monthly at a stretch. So yeah, I'm not really going to do any trading until I don't think like Wednesday or Thursday, to be honest. Although, to be honest, this move down, we could probably get ourselves into, if you wanted to trade it down into this, that's probably quite a high probability. Looking at the amount of consolidation up here, I doubt we're going to be returning back above this until we see a strong reversal. So with that taken into account, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this range out, and basically this is what we call a consolidation. And then you can see we had a large expansion off the back of that today on Monday, and you can see it tapped into it, and prices continue to roll on lower. So I expect that price is going to use this consolidation's high as a target later on, either in the week or in the month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the high. I'm going to draw a line coming out of it, which is a 25% level from the monthly as well. And I'm going to look at this as buy side liquidity. I'm going to see this as a potential draw on liquidity for us after we see a reversal, because when we have strong consolidations and then expansions, it's typical for price to tap back into consolidation, maybe continue a bit lower, and then get a reversal and come back up towards it and use the high of the consolidation as a draw on liquidity. And we'll talk more on that when I'm expecting it, but that's just something to take into account. So if we look at the volume, you can see a lot of back and forth price action left it. But then when price is on the buy side of the curve, it's going to be aiming for these highs, because this is where stops are going to accumulate. Plus we have some volume imbalances up here, and remember we have the 50% level off last month's range, which I'm looking for price to potentially trade into. More volume imbalances. There's a lot of buy side liquidity is basically what I'm saying. So it's just a matter of waiting for that reversal, and non-farm payroll could very much bring that. But overall, moving into the new week and moving into Tuesday, I'm expecting price to continue to trade on lower until I see something significant or some very high resistance, and potentially a reversal forming around Wednesday or Thursday in line with non-farm payroll. So I hope that all makes sense. We will do the daily dividers tomorrow, and make sure you turn on post notifications. Let's head on to GBP USD. Now I do also have the seasonal tendencies for GBP USD, so I'm going to get those right now. Just give me a second. And here you can see that GBP tends to be a little bit uglier in the month of July. You can see that it closes higher to an extent. Here opens, drops, and then trades higher, closing higher, opens, drops, then trades higher, closing higher. So we can expect the same, and in line with dollar moving so heavily bearish, we're expecting that pound will be able to close bullishly. So we can apply the same logic as we move into this new month. So I'm going to start on the monthly here as well, and you can see we've just started the new month. I'm not expecting much downwards price action. In fact, I doubt price is even going to tap into May's high. I think that this range, so I'm looking at the range of this candle, we can probably split this range up from the previous month, just like what I did, and I'll be looking at the 25% level as a potential low of the month, or where I expect price to be significantly sensitive. I will have the 50% marked out just in case, but ideally we only trade to the 25% level of the month, because that would show a lot of bullishness to me, which is in line with what I'm anticipating. So let's get that delineated like so, and then I'd want to see if price can push up into these highs here, 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 and here. So let's get that delineated with buy side liquidity, and then let's drop down to the weekly and you can see our price is already kind of tapped into that level, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more movement. And then I'm looking at this high as well, because we've got a low, a high, a low, low, and some expansion, some beautiful expansion. So this would be a breaker, and it'll be a weekly breaker as well, so very sensitive to price, and it'd be nice to see if price can tap into that and use that as a springboard. So let's get that marked out as a weekly breaker. And now what we want to do is go to the daily. You can see that breaker is pretty much lined up nicely with a fair value gap, which is good to see. So it'd be nice to see if price can dip down into this either on Tuesday or Wednesday this week, maybe even Thursday. And if not, then Friday I'd expect to start aiming towards some kind of discount and moving into next week. And then after that, and only after that, would I want to see price continue to push up into these premiums where we have all of these levels to trade into, and a nice daily fair value gap just above the buy side liquidity I drew our attention to right here, and also lined with the breaker, high, low, high, high, last down close candle. You can drag that out and bring that right through. So it's looking pretty clean on pound in that sense. I don't want to speak too fast, but it'd be nice to see if price can get some kind of pullback and see us dive down into the breaker, which we also have a bullish order block here on the 4 hour, I believe. Yep, 4 hour as well. Nice breaker, a nice bullish order block for us to trade down into, fair value gap, and a nice place where I'd expect price to be reaccumulating before we continue to expand to the upside. In line with dollar, remember, seeing some kind of rallying after we've traded low. I want to see some kind of rallying before trading on lower, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's going to be everything on pound. We can see again, looking at this large consolidation, and we've been in this consolidation for a while now. Price it hasn't left it the way that dollar's left it, so that's showing a bit of a weakness in pound, which is in line with our bias, remember. So the fact that we have failed to close outside of it, we might find that price fails to even trade above it, and then it'll just simply roll over and trade into the discount, which is what we're anticipating. So we want to pay close attention to that and looking at the way it's treating this consolidation that we're currently stuck in. But we do have us, constantly breaking lows. We've got a broken low here. I'll show you a broken low here, broken low here, here, oh sorry, wrong button, here, and then here. So there's constant lows being taken out, so it's going to be interesting to see, and interesting to see how it treats these premiums. If it manages to trade higher again, that'll be very telling. But obviously if it fails, then I'll be pretty confident in expecting that price is going to break down and start running for some kind of discounts. But again, when it's going to happen, I'm not sure, and the reason for that is because of non-farm payroll weeks. I tend not to try and predict time too much on non-farm payroll weeks, because these tend to be the most manipulative times in the month of every month. So that's just something to take into account, guys. So that's going to be everything on pound. I hope that will make sense. We are going to finish up on euro as it's trading beautifully into our target, similar to dollar in that it's broken out, as in it's closed nicely on a low, in line with euro closing nicely on a high. So it'd be nice to see if we can reverse out the back of this fair value gap, which we've anticipated to trade into, and pull back and start to trade lower. So let's get rid of all these marking ups. If you haven't seen the last video, that was a video I posted on Friday, just getting deep into with the more technical analysis of things. So do go check that out if you haven't already. But let's get rid of all that. We'll start on the weekly, monthly even. And you can see how price is about to tap in. We want to see price tap into this fair value gap. This is what I got my eye set on for euro as a draw. But before it does that, it needs to create some kind of low early in the month, whether that's this week, next week, or the week after. Excuse me. Thought I was going to sneeze. And then currently we're trading in this fair value gap. This is what we had delineated just now. So we're tapping into that. Which would then allow us and reason why we'd want to see some kind of pullback, because it's reached a premium PD array, which is this fair value gap and bearish order block. So if price is to turn around on the back of this, that would be really sensible for us and would allow us to start looking for some kind of discount for us to trade to before I expect a continuation to the upside. So again, I'm looking at this range here, the consolidations, guys. I'm really paying close attention to this, with the amount of back and forth price action before we left it. So I'd expect that price is going to want to tap back into this range eventually, and then ideally use it as some kind of springboard. and then on the lower time frames you can see how much of a consolidation this is, and you know how typical it would be for us to tap into it and then hopefully use it. But again, time, I think after non-farm payroll, it's going to be much more clear for us as we enter this month. So yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. I hope you found this insightful. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, turn on post notifications. I'll be posting all week this week, so do stay tuned. It's going to be a good week, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.